We've been hearing from many Republicans over the last however long that their top issue is grooming. That the reason they are so against the left is because the left is promoting grooming, and the LGBTQ community, their agenda is to groom children. And we've talked about the danger of that rhetoric extensively. Now we have an incredible example of how hypocritical and how dishonest the people perpetuating that talking point really are. Take a look at this from Yahoo News. In the House vote Wednesday on the Respect for Child Survivors Act, 28 Republicans said no to the legislation that aims to address the FBI's mishandling of child sex abuse cases. This gets my blood boiling. So almost all the Republicans and all the Democrats, that's how uncontroversial this legislation was, came together in the divided world we're in right now, the divided country, to pass a piece of legislation that would improve the FBI's process of handling child sexual abuse child sexual abuse cases, to make sure that those accusations don't go unheard and the proper people get brought in, the proper experts when an accusation is made, to analyze the situation and make sure that justice is served, as well as victims are heard, and then the FBI properly responds. This is prompted because of Larry Nassar, who was involved in the sexual abuse of so many of these gymnasts, and for so long it went without justice and the FBI didn't properly respond. So that's where this legislation was inspired from. And Marjorie Greene, Lauren Boebert, Andy Biggs, all of these radical right-wing Republicans, they said, nah. They said no. 28 Republicans, after years of saying the reason we get to hate LGBTQ people is because of our twisted, dishonest view of their spooky agenda to groom children, which of course we understand to be absolutely absurd. But here's a list of those 28 Republicans right here. You have Marjorie Taylor Greene and a few of the other names we hear too often, Chip Roy being one of them, Mo Brooks, and then Lauren Boebert and Andy Biggs. I don't want to hear it from them. They, as I've been repeating time and time again, sexual abuse of children, grooming, all of these things are real problems that we need to focus on and make sure when they occur, those who, acted get held accountable. But then also preventing as many of these cases as possible. That needs to be something we care about as a country. Every single person who makes it a political thing to attack the left and says the left's trying to groom children and the LGBTQ community is trying to groom children, as I've repeated a million times, doesn't actually care about grooming, because otherwise they would not be using it as a dishonest tool. They would actually be trying to address the real issue with it. And this is the perfect example of that fact. The Respect for, the Respect for Child Survivors Act, doing exactly the thing that would help to prevent, hold accountable, get justice for child sexual abuse victims. And Lauren Boebert, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Andy Biggs, all these people who scream hateful things towards the other side about this issue actually don't care about it. And they voted no on that piece of legislation because, and I know we know this by now, but it still shocks me, their top priority is to spread hate. It is to get political victories in through these attacks, to fearmonger. It's not to actually help people, because otherwise they would be trying to improve the FBI's process for responding to these accusations. It's a great piece of legislation. I was reading that one of the things that happens is child sexual abuse victims, they will have the FBI come in, but the agent, the individual that's overseeing this, isn't necessarily great at identifying the correct aspects of this and responding to it properly, because they're not trained specifically on this type of thing. This is working to make sure kind of a group of experts come in when this accusation is put forward and respond to it. At least that was my preliminary reading of the legislation that, again, seems really good. And it is so supported by so many people that even most Republicans voted for it, but not the people who scream the loudest about grooming. When it came time to actually act in their power as a congressperson to prevent these types of cases from happening, they voted against it. They didn't even not show up, which some people do in these settings. They voted against it. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to be a part of what makes this show possible, plus get access to the full video version of the show hours before any of the clips are uploaded to YouTube, plus get a full extra show every single Saturday, you can do so by going to patreon.com/Luke Beasley. That's patreon.com/Luke Beasley, and there's a link in the description.